Three, two. What's up, Commanders Nation? What's up, folks? How y'all doing? Welcome back to another show, another episode of Believe in Commanders. I'm Anthony Armstrong. Got the great Brian Murphy over there in Atlanta, Georgia, holding it down. What is going on, sir?
Not too much. Yeah, we're getting into it's crazy. We're already like to the middle of June, which just means I've been doing it on Twitter. We're recording this on Wednesday, 89 days till the Commanders play a regular season game, which means even less till they are back in training camp, even less, even less than that for preseason as well. So all that good stuff is coming up. Just got to get through the dog days of summer. How about you? How are you doing?
Man, I'm great. I'm doing awesome. Cannot complain. Got a little run in this morning. I ran 5 miles. You
Wow,
kidding
good
me?
for you.
Man, I was kind of surprised, and there's sometimes I'll challenge myself. I'll just run for a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Then sometimes I'll just say run for a certain amount of distance. And then I'll give myself a test of like a 5K or something like that, or a mile, or something just, or no, I'll do like intervals or sprints. So that way I can kind of change it up and have a little bit of a different goal throughout the week. And today I just was like, I'm going to go. I felt like Forrest Gump because I got the 30 minutes and I was like, I feel
Running.
good.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep running. And I went down and made a right. And I said, okay, I need to turn right and get the hell going back home. So 5 miles later,
What
got it all done.
What's the most you ever run in one setting? Like, have you done like a
Oh,
half or a full marathon?
no, 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 no M words. Now the longest I've ever run have been about an hour. So actually, that's with the wife. We would do it on like on a treadmill. We would run on a
Nice.
treadmill, and it would be this pyramid run. So you'd go for. I'm probably gonna get it wrong, but maybe it was like you run for a minute, then you slow the pace down for like a minute, then you run for 2 minutes, and then down, then 3 minutes. So the longest was like a 6 minute run, was at the very top of this pyramid, and then you work your way back down on the backside. 1 hour later, you'd be about 6 miles in. So
Okay.
yeah, that's the longest I had ever ran,
I
and I guess I'm on my way to doing that again
Yeah.
potentially.
I did a Disney half marathon in February of 2020. It was Disney, so it was nice and flat there in Orlando, but that was tough. I don't know if I'll do that again. I had on a tutu because it was the princess half marathon. My wife did it. She was 7 months pregnant, which is absolute like rock star. So that might be the last time for me.
Wow, hey, but you know what? You can put the sticker on the back of your car,
That's right. That's right.
and you can say that it's been done. Check that box. It's an experience that I don't have.
Yeah.
So that's what you have. Brian Murphy, if you want to feel about what it's like to run a half marathon, he's the guy to talk to. Don't
Yeah.
talk to
Something
me.
like
You
that.
want to talk about NFL football, what it's like to be on the field, then that's where I come in and knock things out. But
Well,
I don't
well,
know.
let me tell you, over under me doing it again, you can bet the under. I don't think I need to do that again. So if there are odds on Brian Murphy number of half marathons the rest of his life, maybe I could be
Yeah,
talked into it. But as of right now, I'm saying under. Bet the under. Well under
I
that.
think there might be some obscure bookie that'll take that bet and see if they can kind of rally you into it. But I don't know. I know where there are another place you can make a lot of bets, and that's Bet Online.
That's right.
And you want to go over there to betonline.ag to check them out. But Brian's going to tell you all about it. So Brian, let the folks know about Bet Online.
Yeah, BetOnline is your number one source for all your championship finals info. We know that the NBA wrapped up last night. The Nuggets, the first championship in franchise history. Hopefully, you got some bets laid down on them, but you still got the Stanley Cup finals, MLBs going on, UFCs just about every weekend. You can go find all the latest matchup reports, odds, and lines there at betonline.ag. It's your sports intel headquarters this season and every season. And like I said, they've got you covered from basketball and hockey to MLB, UFC, boxing, and more. You can even lay down some NFL and college football futures bets. And it's the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games. So go check those out. You can play them right from your own home. So get in the action today. Head to the website or use your mobile device to join, and be sure to use our promo code on your first bet only, BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus. Bet online, where the game starts.
You get that welcome bonus on that first bet. Make it worth it, y'all.
Yep.
Make it worth it. Make sure you go in there and get you a good one. I mean, it's funny. You see all these different, results of people making all these bets that are starting to hit. It's good to see, and I know BetOnline is a place to go to get yours. Brian, real quick, one thing. If you're looking on YouTube, I want you to take a look at this. Father's Day is coming up right around the corner, and I wanted to see if you would be interested in one of these, short sets. It's got this. If you're not looking, it's got this NFL themed short set. Look like it's set for the beach. It's got shorts. It's got a little zipper for the collar with a little polo collar at the top. Brian, you think you want one of these in the burgundy and gold?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It looks like they I could be wrong. They look like they'd be pretty soft, so I'd probably not take it off for a few days
Yeah.
in the summer because my hygiene tends to dip when there's not a whole lot to do.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I would absolutely rock that. Head out to the pool. I'd take that to the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, get me a burgundy and gold. And I saw this, and the Dolphins one is huge there. Dolphins, regardless of what team it is, I think they have the best color scheme. I could even just rock that teal and orange there if I needed to this summer.
It's a lot of confidence. You got to have a lot of confidence to walk out there in that aqua and orange is what they call it. So, but that's neither here nor there. I don't know if Ron Rivera would rock it. I think Mike McDaniel would definitely rock one of these.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I put it on my Twitter, so hit it up on Twitter. You can see it, Mr. Armstrong 13. I definitely think Tomlin could rock this to a barbecue. McDaniel's going to rock this short set to anywhere in Miami, and Andy Reid will do it because he's got the confidence in the
Oh
swag
yeah.
to
Mhm.
make that happen. But let's get out of here and let's keep this thing rolling. We're going to move right along. First topic of this show, really the only topic of the show, this episode specifically, we're talking about the presumed QB1. They're doing everything but giving him the job right now. Sam Howell. We want to
Mhm.
find out what are our thoughts on Sam Howell. And I have a particular take that I kind of was up late thinking on and chewing on a little bit. But what are you thinking about Sam Howell coming through training camp? How players have listened and have spoken about him, I should say. What are you thinking about Sam Howell? What are your expectations from this guy so far?
Yeah, obviously you got to temper expectations and you got to temper disappointments too, right? I mean, it's hard to really tell where a guy is, when they've just been throwing the ball around in shorts and a helmet. I mean, until we kind of get into training camp and especially training camp against another team. I'm really excited about that for Sam Howell specifically, going against the Ravens, a team that just does it right all the time. So I'm excited about that. But so far, I think it's to be expected. I think that there is some cause for some excitement. So I think that you've heard he's made some really good throws. You've heard he's made some bad decisions, but at the same time, I've always heard it that this is the time to make bad decisions, right? When they don't count. You can throw 15 interceptions in training camp and not one of them counts. So I want him to make all the mistakes he can. And I think that there is some stuff to be excited about. It sounds like he can put the ball pretty much anywhere he wants to. And that's probably the first time we've said that about a quarterback in Washington and who knows how long. And so it sounds like this might lead into what you have to say. So I'm excited overall. I'm not like already putting him down as, the 10-year starter starting this year moving forward, but I am excited for this season to see what he can do. And I think a lot of it has to do also with Eric Bieniemy's system. I think it is quarterback friendly, and I think that he can thrive in it with his athleticism. So I'm excited. Obviously, things to work on, just like every player. But so far, right now, as we're sitting here in the middle of June, I like what I've seen and heard about Sam Howell.
I agree with everything that you said about it. And I'm not going to waste the people's listening time going down the list and saying the exact same thing Brian Murphy just said. But I was literally up late last night and it hit my head. Actually, I was speaking with the good folks over there at the Burgundy Zone podcast, Kyle and the two Mikes. I was saying Sam Howell reminds me of Rex Grossman, and I kind of get the feeling that he reminds Ron Rivera of Rex Grossman. And that's a name that maybe doesn't come with like just the right pizzazz and just like, yes, I love it.
I'm intrigued by that. Where are you going with this?
But you gotta give me a second here, okay? The first and foremost, these guys are built the exact same. They're 6'1", 220 pounds. Okay. Rex Grossman's known for throwing the ball around. He had a lot of success in college. He had some success in the NFL. There was one season, 2006. Rex Grossman went 13-3. Okay, he went 13-3. I think that's the year with the Super Bowl. He had some crazy stats. He had like 23 touchdowns, 20 picks. But
sounds about right. Sounds like Rex Grossman.
Yeah, that was what he was. So you kind of got to like take that part and just like, maybe you want better statistics. But I had to go all the way back to college to compare these guys. They both played 3 years in school. Okay, both played 3 years in school. Rex Grossman had 9,164 yards on 1,110 attempts. Okay. He played in 2 fewer games than Sam Howell. All right. Now, mind you, Sam Howell had just only had 7 more attempts than Rex Grossman.
Mm.
He had 1,117, but he had 1,000 more yards than Rex Grossman. Okay, he had over 10,000 yards, 10,283 yards in two extra games. Forgot to mention, you brought up accuracy. He had 63.8% accuracy in college with a 9.2 yard per attempt. Conversely, Rex Grossman had 61% completion percentage, 8.3 yards per attempt. So he doesn't throw it as often. He throws it further, and he's accurate with where he puts the football. All of those things combined with hearing how Terry McLaurin is talking about Sam Howell, how Logan Thomas says he throws a very catchable ball. All of those things made me think of Rex Grossman because Rex Grossman threw a very catchable ball too. Sure, he was a gunslinger. He was going to make mistakes, but he threw a very, very catchable ball, which leads me to believe you're going to have a lot of run after catch from Curtis Samuels, Antonio Gibson's, Brian Robinson out of the backfield. Guys are going to be able to make plays after the catch, and Sam is going to throw the ball deep. Rex
Yeah.
was known for taking shots deep. You want to know who the defensive coordinator was on that 2006 Bears team?
I think I got to guess. I'll let you tell our fans and listeners.
Ron Rivera.
That's right.
Ron Rivera. Now, mind you, that defense was extremely stacked. Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, Charles Tillman, Danielle Manning out of Abilene Christian,
Mm.
Nathan Vasher. I mean, Tommy Harris. The list goes on and on and on. But if you look at this defense here in Washington, just dropped my phone.
Now
You
drop
got
the mic.
Chase Young. You got Chase Young, who's coming in with a lot of motivation. You
Yeah.
got Montez Sweat trying to come with some motivation. You got 2 stellar defensive linemen, John Allen, Deron Payne. Not to mention, you got the secondary that's going to take away the football. I looked at that secondary from that team in the Bears. It was like 2 and 3 and 4 picks for like 5 to 6 players.
Yeah.
They got their hands on the football. So having Sam Howell at quarterback with the tutelage of Eric Bieniemy, you mentioned that, and having a mentor in the quarterback room in Jacoby Brissett. This is the perfect situation for Sam Howell to have success. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can't get excited for it, it's not like he's just a rookie around other young quarterbacks. Like he Eric Bieniemy is setting the standard for how his career is going to be and how he's going to prepare himself.
Yeah.
Because this is his first offensive coordinator. The guy just got done winning 2 Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes. I'm gonna listen to whatever Eric Bieniemy says. If he tells me
Right.
to do backflip when I break the huddle, I'm gonna learn how to flip my ass, and I'm gonna do that backflip because apparently it's worked.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be excited for what Sam Howell's gonna do. I think that they see a little something in him, and it's real. But they just don't want to hand him the keys too early because they want to keep him hungry. But it's gonna be an exciting year. I think Sam Howell's gonna have a really good season.
Yeah, I think when you say Rex Grossman, you kind of immediately think of turnovers and taking too many chances. And I think if they're able to cut that down, I think that Sam Howell can have some of that gunslinger mentality. And I think I heard this maybe on John Kimes' podcast, but he pointed out the Chiefs' offense kind of is skewed for all those years with Tyreek Hill and those big shots and deep balls down the field. Yes, that was part of it. Yes, that happened every now and then. But you look at it, and Patrick Mahomes is delivering a lot of balls underneath. A lot of it's Travis Kelce catching and running. A lot of it's, the running backs out of the backfield. So I think that Eric Bieniemy, part of it's going to be hopefully putting Sam Howell in some situations where he doesn't have to force it, where he's got guys running wide open. If you remember his touchdown against the Cowboys last year, Terry McLaurin was running wide open underneath. I think that's the kind of offense that Eric Bieniemy wants to put in. And then that can lure some people in. Hopefully you're able to take those shots down the field later on, but it's not all those big bombs and stuff. And so, yeah, I think that with Eric Bieniemy and with his experience in college, yes, he's a rookie, or essentially a rookie. Yes, it is going to be his, second career start the next time he starts a game. But like you mentioned, he has so much college experience that he's done it before, and he's done it in the ACC, which is no slouch at all. I mean, he was going up against Clemson and some teams that have had success before. So, yeah, I'm with you. There is cause for excitement, and I would be all for a 2006 Rex Grossman type season because, like you said, they went to the Super Bowl and were, an all-time Peyton Manning Colts-led offense away from winning a Super Bowl that year. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff to be excited about.
Yeah, and I did you have to mention too the great Devin Hester was on that
That's
team.
right.
He had
The opening
5
kickoff.
return to exactly.
Yeah.
So was there a lot of help around Rex Grossman? Yes. I mean, like I said, he had 23 picks and 23 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. It was definitely it wasn't something that you would want to deal with. I mean, you probably had to take some tums to deal with that season, but
Yeah.
he got all the way to the Super Bowl because you got a defense that's stellar. You got a returner that's going to put the ball in the end zone. So I see a lot of the pieces in Washington, and it's
Yeah.
something to really, just pay attention to. I think that there's a lot to kind of be positive towards, and I'm excited to see it. You mentioned interceptions, 16 fewer interceptions, and
There you go.
with 7 more attempts, and
Yeah.
over 1,100 more yards in production in college. You can say whatever the offensive style was. I remember back in the day, the Gators threw that thing around the field. I
Yeah.
wanted to go and play in that offense. Rex was
Right.
like, "Man, I wish you would have went to Florida. I would have loved to play in that offense."
Yeah.
So
And also, I don't ever remember Rex Grossman really being a scrambler, and I think Sam Howell kind of adds that extra element to where he's able to make some stuff happen on the ground. I think he scored 2 rushing touchdowns in the preseason last year, and then had another rushing touchdown in that Week 18 game against Dallas. So there's
yep.
definitely some athleticism there, and you can't compare him to Mahomes, but there's some there's some comparisons and some parallels to Mahomes as well. He started. Patrick Mahomes, his rookie year, started the last game of the season for Alex Smith, got a win. I think he had a couple touchdowns, similar to Sam Howell. And then his next season, Eric Bieniemy was his offensive coordinator. The next season, Sam Howell has Eric Bieniemy as his offensive coordinator. So all the things are laying out there. You don't want to put too much pressure on the guy, but man, thinking of the future, if he's your guy, he's playing on a rookie contract for the next few years. Maybe you can bring back Chase Young and Montez Sweat with a huge
Yeah.
season. Maybe you can sign Cam Curl and then have some room to go get some playmakers to, solidify that offense, to go with Terry McLaurin and those guys. So there's a lot riding on Sam Howell. I think I'm with you. I think they want him to be the guy, and I think they think he'll be the guy, but you don't want to crown a guy in June when you have, 6 months of football ahead of you.
Yeah, well, I mean, different coaches do different things, obviously, but I've seen coaches where, I mean, and Ron Rivera has done this. He's where when they made the trade for Carson Wentz, he went full bore behind him. This is the quarterback, no discussion about it. This is who the guy is. He quickly give it to him, and that's what you have to do in that situation, I think, because you have a quarterback who had bounced around the league, had a little
Needed
troubled
some
past.
confidence.
He
Yeah.
needed some immediate confidence. You have to go right there and say, "No, you're good, man. Go out there and lead us." But then with Sam Howell, you always say you don't know how people gonna act when they get money.
Mm-hmm.
And even though he ain't getting paid no more, but if you know that I'm good, I'm the guy, then you may be more apt to lax a little bit here and there. But I don't see Eric Bieniemy allowing that to happen
No.
based on the standard he's gonna set, and that's why I think having Jacoby Brissett in the building and in the room with him, where he said he came to Washington because he wanted to be a starter. But I also know that he's professional enough to understand that, yeah, I'm coming in where maybe it's, 3/5 chance that it's going to be Sam Howell. But hey, I got an opportunity and I'm not going to be mad at being QB2.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of thinking back to your Rex Grossman comparison, I feel like Kyle Orton might have been the other quarterback. I don't know if he
Mm-hmm.
was like injured that year, but again, a young guy there. I wonder how much Rex Grossman would have benefited from a guy who had done it before, been like, hey, you
Yeah.
can't just chuck it down the field in the middle of 3 defenders. It's okay to take the underneath route, which I imagine that if and when Sam Howell's the number one guy, I think Jacoby Brissett's going to be in his ear all the time, kind of giving him his expertise and his knowledge from however many years in the NFL. So I think that's a huge part of it too.
Yeah.
You kind of said it already that I don't think this is all on Sam Howell. I think it's him relying on his coaches, on the other quarterbacks, on Tavita Pritchard, who I've heard has really done a good job as the quarterback coach, leaning on Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, those guys that have been in the league for a while. So yeah, while it is easy to look right at the quarterback and think it's only on him, I think Sam Howell has the benefit of knowing that he's got a lot of experienced guys around him, not just in the coaching staff, but on the field as well. And I think that's going to really benefit him.
Yes. And you can't overstate that enough. I don't think you can really get that out to where you really understand, like, you sit back and look like, wow, there is a really strong supporting cast around this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been preaching it all offseason. I said that you have a chance to build a really strong powerhouse of a team. And then at least you'll be in some point where you can say this guy isn't it, or he's 1 year away, being this, you know what I'm saying? Like he's almost there. I would much rather find a way to retain both of those stellar defensive ends, have this crazy stacked defense, and have a quarterback on a rookie contract. I would
Yeah.
love to be in that position for the next 2, 3, 5, 4 years or so, probably three max before you have to start reing up somebody else. But I think that's a good position to be.
Yeah, me too. Kind of like what the Eagles did with Jalen Hurts up until this year. Kind of like I think what the 49ers would love to do with Brock Purdy or Trey Lance, whoever ends up being their quarterback there, but they're able to put on a great team around them. So I'm with you there. So another question, maybe the answer is Sam Howell. So I'm going to turn it over to you. But what is your one thing from the offseason, OTAs, and minicamp that you're thinking about, that you're concerned about? It could be good or bad, moving into the summer or getting ready for training camp and into the season. What's that one thing that you're kind of focusing on or thinking about after this offseason work?
The one thing I'm going to start offensively is I want to see the carryover from OTAs, mandatory mini camps, past this rest period into getting into training camp. Um, Knowing that the first couple days of camp, there can be some little bumps and hiccups because you're trying to get back into the swing of things. How long that lasts, how much of a, let's say, hangover that they're in from that rest period, I'm interested to see offensively, because if they're still trying to work out kinks and mechanics of breaking the huddle and alignment, and I don't know if they are. I'm just assuming there are a few mistakes here and there, but the enemy's
Yeah.
holding a high standard. If they're still in that area where they have to go back and be like, guys, break the huddle again, we got to do it right, I'm not happy with that.
Right.
I want to see those guys show up where it's day one. Terry and Sam and the crew had that first offense humming. And
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to beat the defense every time, just because that's just the way things are set up. Defense is usually they're ahead of the offense early in training camp. So I just want to see the execution, the mechanics of getting in and out of the huddle, calling the right play. Hey, if you make a play, that's great. I just want to see the mechanics, how they transition coming out of this rest period. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to flip over to the defense. I think it's easy to talk about Sam Howell, which we have, and some of the playmakers that he has, and a healthy Logan Thomas, a healthy Cole Turner, hopefully moving forward to the tight end space. But I'm going to look at that defense. That defense was, based on different metrics, I think maybe seventh in the league, close to top five, if not top five, depending on what numbers you look at. And I really, maybe it's a homer in me, but I think that they could be even better next year. You add in two defensive playmakers in the secondary that are rookies, albeit, that can come with some growing pains, but it sounds like those guys are already making strides in Forbes and Martin. You're almost adding a third guy in Chase Young. You had him for 3 weeks at the end of the year. I don't even know that you can really count that, but hopefully a motivated Chase Young, which we're going to talk about in our next episode, and kind of him a little bit more. And then a Montez Sweat that is motivated, who's had some really solid seasons, and you're just kind of waiting for him to make that like one more switch, turn that switch a little bit higher up. So I think this defense could be electric. I think they could force some more turnovers, which obviously was the issue. Hopefully they don't get off to a slow start like they had the last couple of years, but I think this defense could be something special. And with those guys up front, Deron Payne and John Allen, who you got locked up long-term, I'm excited about that. And then I didn't even mention Cam Curl, who might be arguably the best player on that defense. So I think this defense could be special. I hope they make it hard on the offense to where the offense is having to struggle in practice, and game days almost feel a little bit easier because they're going up against a less talented defense on Sundays, and they are going against their own defense during the week. So I'm really excited about this defense, and I think that they can turn the corner and really, make a huge difference for this team. And again, another thing to take the pressure off of Sam Howell, get you some short fields with some turnovers, that kind of thing. But I'm excited about what this defense led by Jack Del Rio can do.
Iron sharpens iron. Iron sharpens iron. I mean, the matchup between an Emmanuel Forbes and Terry McLaurin is going to only help for really both of them get better.
Yeah.
But Emmanuel Forbes has the opportunity to really improve. And speaking of him, real quick, one last question before we break this one down. Out of those two rookie DBs, who do you think is going to make the most immediate impact? Quan
Um,
Martin or Emmanuel Forbes?
This might be an upset, but I'm going to go with Quan Martin. I think initially it sounds like he's going to play a little bit more all over to where it might give him a chance to do a little bit more. Whereas I
Mm-hmm.
think Emmanuel Forbes will, quote unquote, only be, a corner, only be kind of that lockdown guy, which, whether they throw his way or not can be kind of determine that. But it sounds like Quan Martin's kind of lining up all over the place to where I think he could maybe get his hands on a ball maybe a little bit sooner than Emmanuel Forbes. So I'm going to go maybe with the upset and take the second round guy over the first round guy.
I was probably gonna take him as well.
Okay.
I keep thinking about that the year that Charles Woodson was playing nickel for Green Bay, and they stayed in the base nickel set,
Yeah.
and that essentially took an extra linebacker off the field, and this linebacker position continues to be a position of concern. So I could see them using a Quan Martin in some more passing situations, maybe using a bigger safety in some running situations in a nickel set. So I would go with Quan Martin on that one as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, as some reports come back from training camp, some of the different looks. I'm sure they're going to keep a little bit under their hat there, not give everything away. But I'm excited to see how they could line up and the different ways they can line up with Cam Curl out there, with Kendall Fuller, with Derek Forrest. I think they just have so many guys that can move all around. So that'll be exciting to see. We got training camp coming up, in about a month. So I think some of them are open to fans. So that'll be exciting for fans to get out there again and kind of see these guys up close and personal. So kind of like we were talking, it is a marathon. This is just kind of the start of things. You can't get too excited or too down on anything right now because the whole season is ahead of you. And we'll be breaking it down every step of the way. I'm excited for it, and it feels like it's so close.
It is. It's right around the corner, and one thing that you can do, you can take advantage of now is if you go over there to Bet Online, if you haven't done it yet, use our code BLEAV, get that 50% welcome bonus. But take advantage of, if you feel like your team is going in the right direction, maybe you take the over on the
Mm-hmm.
6.5 wins right now. You take those odds because maybe things start going better through training camp, and Bet Online says, you know what, maybe this should be about 7.5. Or they change the odds. You may be able to lock something in at a much better rate. So go check out those folks over there, and also be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok as well. Believe Commanders on all of those spaces. Come see us, come check us out, and share it, and get engaged. Twitter is where we do a lot of chopping it up with the fans
Mm-hmm.
and the followers, so we appreciate that. And finally, over there on the wonderful spots on TuneIn Radio, SiriusXM, Stadium, and all your favorite streaming platforms. You can catch the show. If you don't know which one you want to go with, go to Believe.com and search for the show, Believe in Commanders. You'll find our show page, and it'll show you where you can click on it and listen to us. So, if y'all are hanging with us on the YouTube, just hang tight. But if you're listening on your favorite streaming service, we will catch you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.
And if you still here, welcome back.
That's right.
Welcome back. It's another episode. It's like a little
Just like that.
back-to-back episode. You know what I mean? Believe in Commander Show. Anthony Armstrong, Brian Murphy down there in Atlanta. This awesome show is brought to you by Bet Online. Did you see the game between the Nuggets and the Heat?
I was kind of following along on my phone. I did not watch the end of it. I saw more of Jokic's press conference and stuff like that. Just did not look like the guy who had just won his first championship ever, but he's kind of cool, calm, and collected, which I thought was pretty funny.
Man, Joker is a talented dude, and it's awkward because he's one of those guys that you're like, man, why is this guy so good? Because none of the things line up with the metrics that you would associate with being good. Like he's lanky and he's kind of clumsy moving, but he's
Yeah.
got all these subtle movements and just can have so much vision. I mean, I feel like he's like the quarterback on the field, on the court for the Nuggets. Even though Jamal Murray is the point guard, I feel like I would say Jamal Murray is like a Bijan Robinson or a primetime OBJ. You
Right.
can still give him the ball. He'll put in the end zone, but Joker is definitely the quarterback on that Nuggets team.
Speaking of bet online, would you bet that Jokic and specifically the Nuggets end up with another championship, let's say in the next 3 years?
Man, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. I think that they're a team that's been built relatively organically, kind of quietly, just been at the top of the West, and everybody else makes these, splash trades and forces their way out of different cities and situations to go build super teams, and all that does is get those things broken up in about a year or two. So
True.
I think they will have enough momentum to ride this wave. A lot of the other players and superstars in this league are getting older. I mean
Yeah.
the KDs and the Hardens and LeBrons and those. I mean they're getting older. It's kind of crazy to think, but yeah, they're getting up there. So you got this team out there in Denver and the altitude. It can make it difficult. So I think they can definitely get one within the next three.
I'm going to say no. All of a sudden, the NBA is full of parity where we've had 5 different championships over the last 5 seasons. I just think it's tough in any sport to repeat. I mean, when was the last time, in the big three, football, baseball, or basketball, that we've had a repeat champion? It's been a long time.
Well, see, you say that, but I saw the graphic that was saying here are the NBA champions over the past X amount of years. It was like 10 something years. It was three guys. It was Steph
Yes.
Curry, LeBron, and Giannis. And
Yeah.
and really it was like Steph LeBron, Steph LeBron, Steph LeBron. Then Giannis is like, hey, hello, I'm here. And then you got Steph LeBron. So it's been based around those players. Steph's been in one place, Giannis has been in one place. The only other teams has been LeBron flipping around, but I don't know. I don't know. I think that time is past. I feel like
Yeah.
it's. I don't know. People tried it, and I think Boston's probably going to get broken up sometime here soon.
Hmm.
But I don't know.
Well, we'll save that
Definitely
for
ain't doing it.
believe in NBA or the believe in basketball shows. But
Yes.
go bet on some of those futures and different things at Bet Online. We appreciate them bringing the show. Speaking of a guy, probably not quite the star that we thought he would be after his rookie season, but he's kind of in the spotlight still, regardless of the fact that he's only played 3 games in the last year and a half. What are we thinking on Chase Young? And specifically, there's been some rumors, maybe more fan driven and maybe other city driven, but some trade talk around Chase Young coming into obviously a prove it season, 5th-year option not picked up, kind of everything. This is a turning point in his career, whether it's still in
Yeah.
Washington or elsewhere. I think everybody's kind of looking at this year. What are your thoughts overall on Chase Young, but also as it relates to whether the Commanders could potentially, as shocking as it would be, trade this guy this point, during this season or beyond?
Sure. First and foremost, I just addressed the on-field play. Obviously he got hurt in year three. Year one, he's a defensive rookie of the year, makes the Pro Bowl, has a stellar season. Year two, he falls back and then he gets injured. Now, I think that people have to realize this is the NFL. People study tape. When they get enough tape on you, they will study that and they will shut that stuff down. So, to me, seeing that natural step back in that sophomore season, that makes sense. I
Hmm.
didn't expect him to necessarily go out there and surpass what he had done. And if he did, I was going to be greatly, I'd be happily be wrong in that situation. But having to step back and like they said, they said that defense, everybody was kind of playing individually. They weren't working as a unit. So I'm not too worried about the on-field play. Everything has been mental for me coming back from that injury. That's a major injury.
Yeah.
I see people that have been milking jam fingers since high school, and so this guy had an ACL, and he's in a position where he has to put that under a lot of strain and stress, time in and time out. So the way he finished the season leads me to believe that he's going to have a great season. He's going to start out strong, but would he be trade bait? I think there's probably a less than 20% chance that he could be traded, and I just think it depends on the time of the year, the time of market for a Chase Young. I mean, are you talking off-season trade, like something that would happen now? I think that's very small, very limited. But once you start getting into training camp and into the season, now maybe that's something have a comes up, if maybe the team isn't performing like you'd expect, maybe that's when you start saying, hey, let's go ahead and try to get some more assets and be ready for a rebuild.
Yeah, I think right now, as highly revered as he is to Washington or would be to their success, he is not the number 2 overall pick anymore. You're not going to go flip him for a first round pick, probably not even a second round pick. I think you'd be starting at a third or fourth round pick would be the highest point that you'd be getting back for
I
him. So
think
to me,
that's a travesty, though.
oh,
That
I
just doesn't
agree.
seem right, you
It
know.
it doesn't seem right, but that's kind of where it's at. I think that's just kind of, you don't see players unless they're like quarterbacks or all pro wide receivers being traded for anything other than that,
Sure.
especially a guy that really hasn't proven anything in a couple of years, almost 3 years
Sure.
now. So I hate it too, but that's kind of the scenario, to the point where I'm like, do I want to take a gamble on a third round pick who I know nothing about, who I don't know where I'm going to pick at this point? Or do I want to roll the dice on a guy that was that defensive rookie of the year that potentially could be that double-digit wreaking havoc sack kind of guy? I'm
Sure.
sticking with Chase Young at that point. And I'm with you. I think that the timing of it, should he be struggling a little bit, in the first half of the season, and they're like, at the writing's on the wall, Montez Sweat is killing it on the other side, we're going to sign him long term. Maybe they do look to flip him. Maybe a third round pick would be a little bit more valuable. You might kind of
No.
get an idea, depending on who you trade with, where that pick's going to be at. But right now, I think I'm with you. I don't see it happening anytime soon. I think it would absolutely have to be at that trade deadline, and I couldn't really see it leading up to it. Let me ask you this. This scenario popped in my head as you were talking about different timing. Let's say, for whatever reason, Washington, Sam Howell doesn't cut it, that they take a major step back. They're sitting at 3-6 whenever the trade deadline comes up. I don't know what week that is. I figure it's week 9 or 10. So 3-6, 3-7, just a bad year. It's not going well. They're obviously, Ron Rivera might be on the way out with new ownership, but Chase Young is having a killer season. He's got 7.5 sacks. Are
Yeah.
you looking to trade him then, hopefully trying to capitalize on some value, maybe a contender coming in sweetens the deal up to a second, or would you be still holding on to him with the idea of signing him long term?
Man, that's the hell of a question. That's the scenario that, I'd be afraid of. And I think you may consider making that move, especially if you think Montez is going to be something, if you think you got something in the young fella out of Clemson. But now you can at least try to get some assets and put yourself in some sort of position to either move up and get a quarterback or try to go get that kid out of USC, get Caleb Williams. I don't think the team's going to be that bad
I don't think
to
so
be in
either, but
that position. I mean, you have to really just like forcibly, lose, I think, to be that bad. You got too much talent.
yeah,
I mean, golly, this is getting off topic, but I like Caleb Williams. I think he's talented, but good Lord, I do not want to tank for anybody.
no,
I'm sorry. I
it's
don't want
not
to
a
go through
given.
that. You know what I mean? It's not. It's not. It's not. So, anyways, I wouldn't go through that, but that would be a scenario, where you're like, hey, the value has gone up, because I think teams would be willing. I mean, the Steelers have been tied to it. I
Mm-hmm.
saw a mock trade scenario that it was a third round pick and a player from Houston for Chase Young. Um, One thing I thought about is how for a while it got to the point where anytime somebody left Washington, they went on to have just like a immediate,
Pro
upswing in
Bowl, yeah.
yeah, it was just like, what happened? Why do you leave? And it's like, oh
Mm-hmm.
well, there's in a different scenario that just works better for him. And I mean, Pittsburgh is one of those places. Minka Fitzpatrick leaves Miami, gets up there, and he was already a great safety, and now he just goes up and continually
Right.
goes up. But if you throw a Chase Young on the other side of a TJ Watt,
Yeah.
AFC North is probably gonna throw up in their mouth if
Yeah.
something like that happened. They'd be like, ugh,
Yeah.
can't believe it.
That's the scenario, and obviously I wouldn't want that to happen. But when it's looking like A, Sam Howell's not your guy, B, Ron Rivera is kind of a sitting duck, I'm like, at that point, do I need, like you said, a second pass rusher? Do I need to invest all that money in a team that doesn't even have the quarterback figured out, that kind of thing? I would look into it then at that point. And I think we've seen teams, that are close to competing or feel like they can make a run in the second half of the season. They will sweeten the deal a little bit. I mean, the Patriots, I think it was one year, they gave the Falcons a second round pick for Mohamed Sanu. And I'm not talking about like young Mohamed Sanu or even like prime, like with the Falcons, Mohamed Sanu. I'm talking about like one of his last couple seasons, Mohamed Sanu. And so maybe a team like that, like you said, the Steelers or a team that's competing all of a sudden is like, you know what? He is the missing piece. He doesn't have to be the guy here, like you said, with a TJ Watt on the other side or a Nick Bosa on the other, whatever it is. Yeah, I would have to absolutely look into that. But I'm with you, though. I don't see that happening to where I think that it's either Chase Young balls out and proves he's worthy of that big contract of who we thought he was going to be after his rookie season, or he just is an average guy. And I think it's going to come down to Washington having a pretty decent season, whether they're in the playoffs or not. I think they'll be right on the cusp. But I think it's going to come down to Chase Young really in the long run. I don't think it's going to be – I think the decision will be pretty obvious for the Commanders come the end of the season. That's my guess when it comes down to Chase Young.
Yeah, and the ideal scenario, and I guess the team has the cap room to do it, is to re-sign both of those guys. I didn't think it could happen, but I guess there's enough cap room. But like you said, having the rookie quarterback contract on the front end, that gives you that wiggle room to be a little bit more spend heavy on that opposite side of the field. So
and then you got Cam Curl in there. So I don't know how they're going to make the dollars and make it all work, but I would love to have all these guys and all of them playing at their absolute best. Montez Sweat and Chase Young combining for 20 plus sacks every year. I want that to stay in Washington, and I want that to be the case, but it's kind of up to these guys. I think that they are motivated. It sounds like everything from OTAs or they weren't at the OTAs, you know what I mean? But the mini camp, it sounded like they looked fast, they looked strong, and hopefully that continues into training camp. And like you said, I don't know that it's a physical thing, because you look at those two guys and they are massive, they are strong, they are really, really fast for how big they are. I think, like you said, it's mental. I think it's for both of them. It's mental that, it's taking that next step. It's realizing that their back's up against the wall, and how are you going to respond to it? And I think they're going to respond big time, and I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah. They're out there working with Warren Sapp. This is, I think, the second time he's been around. You got, Ryan Kerrigan in the building.
Jeff Scanina, who played almost 20 years in the league.
Yeah, you're surrounded by so many talented defensive linemen who have done it in the league. You're bound to soak in some of that knowledge through osmosis. You know what I mean? You just kind of absorb it, and then it's going to make its way onto the field. Guys tend to get motivated when they got some money to play for. So the rest of the NFC East should be on notice. And you said over 20 sacks between those two. That's the number you think you'd put on the over-under if there was one for combined sacks?
Shoot, I think that would be an ideal scenario. I think realistically, I think I'd put the number at like 13 or 14 and a half. That'd be about 7 each.
Okay.
I'd feel more comfortable, maybe taking the over there. I would take under 20 right now, but I'd love to be proven wrong.
Yeah. Please. Hell, I already said Chase had 6.5. I put it at 6.5, and I took the under in a reason to kind of poke the bear. Come on, man, 6.5. You can't.
Well, it's like we've mentioned TJ Watt. I briefly mentioned Nick Bosa. There's like a Myles Garrett. Those guys, you don't question whether or not they're going to have double-digit sacks. You question whether or not they're going to be flirting with 20 plus. And I think that Chase Young can get to that. And I think he has the body type. He has the skills. I think, like you said, it's all mental. It's like, what are you going to do now? The team doesn't feel comfortable investing all that money in you. You've got your chance to prove it. Go do it. You've got Anthony Armstrong doubting you on his podcast. Go prove everybody wrong. And I think Chase Young is the guy that can do it. So I'm excited to see what he does this year. But right now, you have to understand why the Commanders aren't committing. But you can also understand why Chase Young is going to play with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder next year.
He really is. NFC's quarterbacks, watch out. The Predator is on the loose. He is motivated and ready to get after y'all's behinds. If that does make it on the Bet Online, take the over. do that for yourself, and use our code BLEAV. Get that welcome bonus, 50% for your first bet. First bet. So
Mhm.
don't be trying to use it over and over again. It only work once. Nah.
Yeah.
I tried. It didn't work. So I
Oh,
tried
they
it.
got you?
I was like, well, maybe it's my first time logging in. Let me try that. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, one bet. So do that. Give that a try. Hey, hit us up on Twitter, all social media at Believe Commanders. Want to know, would you trade Chase Young? Let me know.
Yeah.
Let me know. And I know there are different scenarios, like we mentioned, like something right now, something maybe in training camp, or would it be something down the line on the trade deadline? That could be a great poll. I
Yeah.
don't want to put that poll out there.
I
I don't
might
want to put
I
that
think we
poll
might
out
need to
there.
post I think we might need to post this video and see that some
Well,
of
I don't want to.
the comments we get.
I don't want to put no. I mean, I don't want to trade him. How about that?
I don't either.
That could be an option on the poll. He say the answer is D. You don't trade him. He balls out. You keep him in the building. So I don't know. That's the one. That's the ideal for me,
Yeah.
personally.
And hopefully you're listening to us all season long, and it's week 12, and Chase Young has got 15 sacks and is leading the charge for Defensive Player of the Year. But you can listen to us all summer long, all the way into the season. Listen and watch us. There are all kinds of ways you can watch Believe shows. So hopefully we can make it on the list and be on some of those shows. But you can always hear us on TuneIn, Sirius, Stadium, all your favorite streaming platforms. And as always, we post this to YouTube on the Believe channel as well. So plenty of ways to check us out. We appreciate you checking us out. And we'll be back, kind of checking in on the team throughout the summer, throughout June, into July, into training camp when things start ramping up. But we appreciate you listening and watching. AAA, anything before we go?
Man, y'all enjoy y'all summer. Y'all be safe. And make sure y'all tune in. Share this with a friend. See you guys on the next episode of the Believe in Commander Show. For Anthony, I'm Anthony Armstrong. For Brian Murphy, we'll catch you on the next one.
See you guys later. Be good.